All right, we got some Detroit Lions news for you guys. Obviously trying to move off of the debacle last week against the Baltimore Ravens, looking forward to Monday night to play the Raiders. But it looks like the Lions are potentially looking to upgrade and make a big trade with the trade deadline just a few short days away. We've got a tweet before NFL analyst Cam Marino. This is a guy who's connected to the USA Today. He's worked there in the past. Seems like a guy who knows what he's talking about. Let's throw up the tweet here and talk about it on the other side. I guess I should say X post, whatever they call it these days. With the NFL trade deadline approaching, I'm told by a source that the Detroit Lions have been aggressive in their approach to acquire defensive talent. After a loss by 32 points, the Lions may seek to upgrade their defensive line or secondary. All right, so to me, this just makes total sense because right now, Lions fans, you guys know it. You've seen where your team is. You've seen the rest of the NFC. You have a legitimate shot to make a run at the Super Bowl. The 49ers, if they're not 100% healthy, look very beatable. The Eagles are really good, but they played in a lot of close games. Very beatable football team, not nearly as dominant as last season. And right now, Detroit fans, if you look at your two losses, the Seahawks game and now the Ravens, the issue was the defense, mainly pass rush involving anybody not named Aiden Hutchinson. I think going out and getting another pass rusher makes sense. That's why this tweet, this report, this rumor makes a lot of sense to me. But Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are. But before I hand it over to you, Detroit fans looking forward to a big Monday night matchup against Las Vegas, trying to put that debacle of that Baltimore game behind you once and for all. In the comment section below, give us your prediction. Lions, Raiders. Look, the Raiders aren't great on paper, but they do have a couple really star players, could make it interesting. So now's your chance. Lock in your prediction for the Detroit Lions, Las Vegas Raiders game in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts about the Lions potentially adding another pass rusher or another defender to pair with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson?
I think it's a great move, Nick, because when you see Aiden Hutchinson, you see a guy out on the field. At times, it feels like he doesn't have a lot of help. He's a very good player in his own right. I think it's the potential to be absolutely great, a superstar in the making potentially, but he needs help. Because when you go back through history, you look at the best pass rushers of all time, what do you usually think of? It's a duo. It's two. There's two guys there, and you don't even have to look too far back. When you look at present day NFL, you think TJ Watt. Who does he have? Alex Highsmith there. You think JJ Watt the pass. Who do you have? Whitney Merciless, Jadeveon Clowney, guys to help things run. Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware. Look, Micah Parsons, he's got help on the Dallas's defensive line as well. It's just, this is the necessity nowadays. You got to have two guys there. I think it makes things infinitely easier for a guy like Aiden Hutchinson if you pair him with another pass rusher. I think this is a natural progression. I think the Lions are smart for this because, like you said, this is a Super Bowl window. The Lions are able to make big-time plays. If you sit here and you sit on your hands and you don't do anything when the trade deadline comes up, you're going to regret it because, unfortunately, you go into a game with a team like Baltimore was a suffocating defense and an offense that was just one step away from making the jump. Unfortunately, they make the jump against you. You realize we need to do more. We need to have more because we're a great team, but we just need a little bit more. I think the Lions going after a guy, Nick, could be really great. But who do you have anyone in mind the Lions could go after? Or is this just something we got to wait and see what happens?
So I think the most natural guy is Chase Young from Washington because right now Young's in the final year of his rookie deal. All the commentary out of Washington is they're not going to give him a big deal. He's not real happy with his playing time in the situation there. He never really took that next step from the way Washington sees it. They wanted him to become, honestly, like an Aiden Hutchinson kind of guy, but he's more suited to be a number two kind of role, kind of like you alluded to. And I think that's why it's a perfect fit for the Lions to go after Chase Young. And Washington's hoping to get something in return because Young's likely going to walk in the offseason for nothing. So here the Lions can give up maybe a third, maybe a fourth, something like that, some package, equivalent to that value. That way Washington feels like they get something for Chase Young instead of just letting him walk. So I think that's the most natural fit. There's been some rumors of another Washington defender, Montez Sweat potentially, but I think Chase Young is the more natural fit. And look, it just makes sense, right? You're in your Super Bowl window, Lions fans are kind of in this beautiful situation. This isn't like the last couple seasons where you're just happy to win a game or happy to be contender. Because I look at the guy opposite of Hutchinson right now, looking at Kaminsky, according to PFF, his pass rush grade in 180 plus snaps is about 57. Folks, that was okay. Or honestly, that's never okay, but that was acceptable. That was tolerable when you were terrible a few years ago. Maybe that was tolerable, last season. We were kind of a surprise team the second half of the year, just happy to kind of be in contention. Now that you are a legitimate Super Bowl threat, that cannot be tolerated. That's why I think you have to go out and get a guy like Chase Young, who, by the way, is grading out at an 80 plus in the pass rush department. Could be exactly what you need. He's a good run defender as well. And Dan Campbell came out recently and said, listen, when it comes to getting a guy in the trade deadline, it's all about value. We're never going to sacrifice value. But Miles, let me throw a number out for you involving Chase Young. Chase Young, according to overthecap.com, they value him at an $18+ million. His cap hit this season, about $10 million. There's your value right there. It just looks like it all lines up. Chase Young to Detroit, I tell you what, it seems like a perfect fit, and I think Holmes and company could pull the trigger, and this could be a great addition, kind of the final piece for this Lions Super Bowl run.
Yeah, and I think the Lions, they may even, like you said, if everything pans out, they probably have the salary cap to sign Chase to a deal. I think they're sitting around what, 60 million for 2024, somewhere around those lines. I think they have the ability to potentially go up and do that after everything's said and done. So I think this could be a good move for the Lions. I think this could be a good move for Aiden Hutchinson. I think this defense potentially could really take the next step, kind of like they did last season. Started off slow, they fire Aubrey Pleasant, the DBs get better, the defense takes another step. Now we see something, there's a setback with the defense. They need to make a change and get things rolling in the right direction once again. And I think this Lions team can really set themselves up for something special.